Hello and welcome. You're watching Head to Head. I'm Carrie Oderman with UATV. Today we're talking about humor as a political weapon. The line between show and politics today is becoming more and more vague. Joining us in the studio to expand on this topic is Maksym Kyiak, Director of Philosophy, Deputy Head of the Institute for Central Europe. My expectations are high. I'm expecting you to start with a joke.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Well, let's talk about the context of the article that you wrote recently. President Lensky was the impetus for this because he's a comedian turned president, as the international media is constantly reminding us. But there's lots of examples of people that have been in show business and recently comedians that have been active in politics. What's your take on this? Well,
we're living quite strange times. I mean, just like you said, the line between politics and comedy is very blurry. And the same goes with the line between politics and the show. So we're living kind of hybrid times, not just in the times of a hybrid warfare. Yeah, but like you said, Lensky was not the first one who used his comedy background for a political reason, for his political benefits. So one of the first, just who did it for the sake of electoral benefit, was Jimmy Morales from Guatemala, by the way. And the strange thing, or interesting thing, is he is almost the same age as Lensky. He looks pretty the same, because they both have dark hair. He also is a former comedian. He's an actor. And also he didn't have like his personal presidential ideology, so political ideology. He didn't have any during the elections. And yes, he used this, the despair, the loss of trust in classical politics in his country, just like Lensky did, for his own benefit, for his own sake. And for sure, he used, this trend for the new faces, for stuff like that. And yes, this look very pretty same, those two examples. And moreover, they also gained almost the same percentage, during the presidential election.
Morales also had 70%, right?
Almost 70, had 67, and Zelensky had 73, which is quite, well, interesting. So Zelensky wasn't the first one. So the other guy who was also, like in a global context, was a former mayor or one of the very small towns in Slovenia, Marian Šarec. Now he is a prime minister. Actually, he played the role of the prime minister for a pretty long time, and he became a prime minister a few years after. And also Italy, Beppe Grillo, for instance, the spokesman, as he said, or a chairman of the Five Stars movement in Italy, he also is a former comedian. Actually, he still is a comedian in politics, I would say. And some other guys, like Jon Gnarr, he's a former mayor of Reykjavik from Iceland. And actually, when he was in Kyiv just recently during the forum, Zelensky was speaking in front of the audience and addressed such words to the Jon Gnarr that he is my colleague, which is also interesting. Yes, we are living in quite strange times of when show and politics are almost the same.
Do you think any political consultants will be telling people that want to get involved in politics to become comedians first?
No, I think, weapon doesn't shoot twice, usually. Like, you will not... So Zelensky will not ever use the same things in the future, just like the same in Ukraine, by the way. But it's not only about the humor, I would say. So in Ukraine, there was such kind of circumstances that people didn't trust politicians. They wanted to see new faces, like I said. Besides, what I think one of the biggest reasons for that is that people actually in Ukraine, the majority of the people, don't understand what the real politics is. So they think that the TV series, which is People's Servants, where Zelensky plays a major role, that is actually politics, which is not true, by the way. So, yes, it was used different things were the background for this. But one of the biggest, one of the most important was humor of Zelensky, because by using humor, he kind of undermined the role and the status of the old politicians, and that really played a great role for his victory.
Zelensky's been really confident and steaming through with new laws, saying that he had 70% of the vote.
Yeah.
But was that 70% of the vote for Zelensky or against the establishment?
Well, no one knows. I mean, I think that there's the second option. Yes, the people voted against the classical or the previous political system. Yeah, but some of them, voted for Zelensky himself because he's a nice guy. He's just like us. He's very simple. He's such a cool guy. He looks good. He is handsome, and so he's young. Why don't we vote for him? I mean, yeah, yeah, that's how it works.
Just recently, one of the shows that President Zelensky was involved with, and I'm not even sure if he's still involved with it, was in the headlines for how they dealt with the Ukrainian Choir. What's your takeaway with that situation?
What do you mean? Just specify, please.
There was a song that was sung.
Oh yeah, okay. So it wasn't Zelensky himself because he's president, but that were his friends, I would say. So the Вечерний квартал. Yeah, they really did this. Well, I don't perceive it as a joke. I don't think it was funny. But yeah, I think it was used against Hontaryeva, so the previous National Bank chairman, head of the National Bank. For me, I think it was like more for a hype, so they did it just to make some kind of hype reaction. But it didn't seem funny at all.
Now, can Zelensky be held accountable or guilty by association, not necessarily only for things that his colleagues are doing now, but what they've done in the past? I'm thinking of Al Franken, who had to step down from his Senate seat in Minnesota when pictures came about where what he was doing when he was on a tour as a comedian.
Well, Zelensky is in hard situation because on one hand, he's a guy who was a former comedian. On the other hand, he's for sure he's a president. He has to find some kind of non-comfortable balance between those two images, I would say. And I think, furthermore, he will try to find to be more like away from his past, from his comedian past. And but in this sense, it means that he will become one of those politicians whom he mocked before, which is, well, nice. So what will he do in this situation? What kind of non-comfortable balance he would try to seek? I don't know. So far, he's not using humor as a president, like as a strategy, because he doesn't need it so far because he, like I said, he has a great amount of support. He has a big support. He tried to use some jokes with Lukashenko, with the Belarusian president, with your president, with Trump. 3 times he did use joke, but it's not a strategy at all. It's like only jokes with like 5 minutes after you forget what he said. By the way, your country has lots of examples of using humor. By the way, even now. When I was doing this article and this research, I even found out that sometimes your president was, during his presidential campaign, he tried to look more, so his rallies looked more close to, comedian stand-ups for, like they were very much looked like comedian stand-ups, which is really good, I think.
Well, the United States had a long history of having actors become politicians.
Yeah,
now we've got a reality TV star, and we've got several examples throughout the world of comedians that are now politicians. What genre could be next? Are we going to have musical stars? What is this saying about society in general?
I mean, no one knows. Even now, like you're going to have next year, I believe, you're going to have presidential elections, and even rap stars and even movie stars said that they probably. Most likely they will be running for the president. I mean, no one knows. I mean, we are, like I said, the line between politics and show is became such blurry, so blurry.
Politics has always been show, but I'm worried that people that were able to sit through a movie before are now we're sitting through a reality TV show, and now they only have patience to sit through a stand-up show, a set of 5 minutes. What does that say about voters' potential to pay attention to politics and take it seriously? As a doctor of philosophy, have you thought about that?
Well, just the same as with this TV series, People Servants of Zelensky. So he played the president. For sure, he had another name. But people actually didn't understand where this character ends and where Zelensky starts.
And he did do some things at the beginning where he, which were very populist movements that could have been right out of the script of his TV show. Canceling the parade on Defenders Day, giving more money to the veterans. These are things that his character would have clearly done. Do you think he was picking tips out of the script, or do you think they were also good moves?
I don't think he did personally. I think he has a pretty good team of the advisors, of counselors. Yeah, I think even even during presidential election, when he was he remained silent. When he didn't give any comments, he didn't interviews to the media, Ukraine media. I think it was also part of the strategy. Just comparing to comedian stand-up. So stand-up, what is one of the most crucial things in stand-up is a pause when you create some kind of surprise. And he just created this pause and surprise, and that's how he gained this, initiative. So he always had this kind of initiative.
Interesting when you say that, because after not giving interviews for so long, he did that marathon interview, which surprised everyone, which would fit right into your observations that he's using some
And he also used a bit of a humor during this marathon. Personally, I watched the whole marathon. It was long, I know, but I had to, because I prepared this article. Yeah, and this is also to some extent this is a show, this press marathon. So Zelensky thinks in terms of the not just only in politician, but more in terms of the person who used to be a guy from the show. That's how it is.
Well, the world keeps reminding us that he's a comedian turned politician. I think you and I both agree that politics is no laughing matter, even if it's full of comedians.
Yeah, I think, well, humor is about emotions. Yeah, politics needs emotions, for sure. But until politics becomes a comedy itself, it shouldn't turn into a comedy, absolutely. And also, yes, like I said, humor is a very good, efficient tool, not just in politics, in counter disinformation, by the way. But you don't have to underestimate it. But on the other hand, you don't have to please don't overestimate its role, because when you're a politician, humor will not help you to build roads, to protect your country, to build communication. You have to be boring politician, not just a guy from the comedy show.
Thank you very much for your time today. We enjoyed having you here.
Thanks.
That was Maksym Kyiak, Doctor of Philosophy, Deputy Head of the Institute for Central Europe. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more with UATV.